All right. Well, welcome everybody to our Monday night book study, and we're on chapters 17 and 18 this week, and sleep and support system. So I thought these were really fabulous chapters. It's been a long time since I read that sleep chapter, and I'm not sure I actually even read it all the way through the first time because there was some interesting stuff in there. So it's going to be interesting to hear what you guys thought about it. So let's start from there. What were some nuggets that you found in the chapter 17 on sleep that maybe you didn't know before, or that you thought, I can do better with that? What did you like?
I would have to say the biggest thing for me is not watching TV before I go to bed. Just changing that habit, I guess, and that way I don't have it running all night, at least the TV all night.
Yeah, I used to have a habit of that, especially when I was much younger. We'd leave the TV running and for the noise, and it talked about that pineal gland that senses light, and you can see where that would really be problematic to have that light because it flickers all the time.
Yeah.
So you could see where that would be a problem. And what about your cell phone sitting next to your bed? Have you ever had just that flickers? It comes on. Have you noticed that?
I have mine set so that I can't hear it after
do
10
not
o'clock. Oh, sorry, Jamie.
Nope, I do that too.
Set it. I have there's a setting on my iPhone that allows me to put it on nighttime mode, I think it is, and only one of my kids or my mom. I have, the people in my what do you call it? Were my favorites in my phone can call through. I give them permission so that if there was an emergency, I would still get a phone call. But, I'm not going to get other phone calls or text messages. And, my family isn't really going to, unless there's a problem, isn't going to message me in the middle of the night. So that kind of helps. Anybody else come up with anything?
I'm a terrible sleeper.
Are you?
Oh, yeah, awful. Some nights 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm still wide awake and my mind is still racing. And my husband finally kicks me out of bed by then.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
I can be tired and then go to bed, and then instantly, as soon as it's dark, that's when I rise and shine and have a hard time sleeping. So yeah, and I've tried multiple different things to try to help with it, shut down the brain, and even tried medication to just stop it. And it doesn't seem to help.
That's not helping. So yeah. Did you look on page 211 where it talks about and it lists all the, any of you ladies, did you where it says wake up tired in the morning, need a nap in the afternoon, fall asleep watching TV, have frequent small accidents at home or large ones on the road, have trouble focusing on the job, find yourself sleepy after lunch, have trouble figuring the correct change from a purchase, feel irritable or depressed most of the time, feel like you're not getting anything done, drink alcohol to get to sleep, drink several cups of coffee or energy drinks to stay awake, have difficulty falling asleep or have difficulty staying asleep. So that would address your issue, definitely, some of those. And it said if you have 3 or more of those, then you certainly have, you're not getting the supportive sleep that you need, which you're already aware of. You didn't need that list to tell you that.
Check.
Yeah, check. So,
and then I do pretty good until about 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock is if I can make it from 2 to 2:30, that's kind of a sleepy time during the day. Like you're working and working and working, and then about 2:00, that's where it's like all of a sudden, okay, if I can just make it, and then all of a sudden about 2:30, then I get that next wind and can make it through the rest of my day. But yeah, for some reason I just can't sleep at night.
I used to have a 3:00 witching hour. I would wake up every night at 3:00, and then I wouldn't be able to go back to sleep for a period of time, sometimes a couple hours, sometimes not until 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when you do fall asleep, you feel like you fall asleep and then it's time to get up at 6 or 6:30. And then you feel like someone hit you over the head with a sledgehammer. You feel terrible. And I used to have that happen to me all the time. It was really routine. One of the things that helped with that was when I started, I lost some weight. I don't know what your situation is, but that helped me. And just that, that made a huge difference. And I'm wondering about the drinking water throughout the day, so my body was more hydrated. They talked about different things in here. Drinking caffeine. I used to drink a lot of pop. And I thought it was interesting. The half-life of caffeine is 6 hours, which means that it goes for 12.
Yeah.
So some of those things.
And I've tried to cut back on that too, because that was a big thing, is the caffeine. I used to drink tons of caffeine to make it through the day. And then at night you're amped up, and even stopping the caffeine. I haven't had any caffeine since the end of February, and it doesn't seem to.
That's
change.
Not solving the problem, huh? Wow.
No.
Dang it. That would have been the easy solution. No kidding.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just something with my body where it just doesn't, but it's just, I haven't found a solution quite yet.
Yeah. Any ideas, you guys, from the reading that kind of stuck out to you? Obviously, you're not going through those stages of sleep.
No.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, for me personally, I know. Can you hear me okay? I think I'm lagging behind.
Might be.
If I eat, I can tell that I have always been a good sleeper, but I can tell that the foods that I eat during the day, depending on what I choose to eat, that I notice more so now that really does affect me a lot more than I ever thought it did. But, when I try and eat clean foods and eat really good, I sleep good. But then on days where I don't and I eat a bunch of stuff that I shouldn't, I don't sleep very good. And I've gotten older. I notice I have to go to bed at a certain time and wake up at a certain time. And I try and keep that same schedule during the weekends, which I think it talks about that in here too, that's important.
Yeah.
And I think that keeping the schedule, Jamie, is a huge thing. People say that if you start your body out trying to keep that schedule, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, keeping that, routine, that people say that tends to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that, but that's not always easy to do either. So how are you guys with a schedule? Do you do it? Do you have a schedule?
I got one more than I used to.
Yeah.
I would say. I definitely, I just kind of, everybody's trying to improve or whatever.
Sure.
So this year I've tried to get more up around 5, if not 5:30, definitely before 6. Jamie makes me work out with her in the morning sometimes.
God, Jamie. Gosh. She's terrible.
But I appreciate it, because even when I don't want to go to that, I still get up at that time, even if I don't make it into exercise or whatever. And that has helped a lot. But I'm a horrible sleeper too. I was like Sarah, I kind of wanted to interrupt her and ask her a couple of questions because I have that problem too. Like, maybe 6 hours is a lot, but I'll be honest with you, and I'll tell all of you guys this. My kiddos that are good, healthy athletes, they seem to eat healthy and stuff, they like to sleep. And they like to recoup. And I mean, they can go and they can do extraordinary things, but they are required extra hours of sleep. So that makes me want to rethink my little 5 and 6 hours of sleep that I sometimes get or don't get. Like I can read all night. It's really easy.
Yeah.
But then I'm not very functional the next day. But.
Well, where was that said that 5 hours or less, your chances of a heart attack are
On
higher
212.
on 212, and even 6 hours is not enough. It's still higher, and women are more susceptible to that than men even.
Mm-hmm.
So, and some of I think, he talked about kind of the cultural aspect of sleep, how we kind of feel like, well, even the first page talks about up until the middle of the 20th century, people just didn't think sleep was important. They didn't think your body did anything during that time. And now they're finding how important it is. So there's a cultural thing in there too, because I've heard, especially moms or, college kids and that sort of thing, they'll talk about, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Well, you're going to be dead a lot sooner if you don't start sleeping, because we're supposed to sleep. There's a reason for it. And we need that restorative sleep to even get our, even to keep us from getting from getting sick and that sort of thing. So some of it is kind of a mental game too. We kind of feel guilty for getting the sleep we need, don't you think?
There's so much we can do during the day or during the night when everybody's in bed.
Yeah. Well, there's some truth to that too. So
are
you
put the kids to bed? You put the kids to bed, and then that's when you can clean up and pick up and do the last night.
Mm-hmm.
Dishes and 2 loads of laundry, and I mean, I was able to be very productive.
Yeah.
So your house stayed clean for a little bit before the kids woke up and destroyed it again. So that rotation. But
well, you prioritize that sometimes. And the reading, I can't do it as much anymore because it's really hard to find a book that engages me that much where I can stay up all night and read. I used to do that all the time. And now my requirement to engage me that long is a lot higher. The bar is a lot higher. It's really got to be interesting. Or my sleep, I value that way higher than reading anymore. But I have more time to read now than I did when I was a young mother, so easier said. So are you guys morning people or night people? What do they call that? Owls or larks? Which are you?
Oh, I've always been an owl. Always.
Okay.
My mom would get so angry because at 10 o'clock, all of a sudden she still curses me because at 10 o'clock when I lived at home, I decided to tear out my carpet in the bedroom, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I was tired of the carpet and you wouldn't get me new, so I just decided to tear it out at 10 o'clock at night." I mean, I just have always been
a night owl.
Yeah, I can do so much at night, and then mornings I don't function as well. I mean, I function a lot better than when I used to, but it takes me until about 7 o'clock before I can really. The early morning I used to get up and exercise and was determined, but it just wasn't functioning. So
I have and of course your job probably requires you to be up early.
Oh, sometimes. Luckily with hospice I can fluctuate.
Okay.
So it really kind of depends on what the patient care is and where I'm going that day. So luckily I can fluctuate compared to everybody else who have pretty more strict as far as hours are concerned.
Yeah. So, but maybe that's part of your issue. You're trying to be a lark when you're really an owl.
Yeah.
With your sleep cycle,
Yeah.
I listened to a podcast a while ago about that, and I don't know if you've ever heard, but there's a book called 5 a.m. Miracle, and it's about taking an hour at 5 o'clock, and he has a schedule. He has some things for you to do, like meditate, Jamie shared that meditation app. We'll talk about that again. I think he has you do some get up and do some exercise and some things like that. But then he had a guy on who is a owl. So his philosophy was in the evening, and he talked about how he adjusted his life so that, because he was more productive later in the evening. And so he would sit with his family and have dinner, but really for him, he ate it like 8:00 at night, which is really very European. We've got, my daughter's boyfriend is here from Germany, and he doesn't understand why we eat so early. But that's what this guy's cycle was. So he would sit with his family because his kids had to go to bed early. They needed to go to sleep early. And then he would adjust his schedule because he was more productive later in the day. So if you have some flexibility with that, that might help in that light, because maybe you're trying to force yourself to sleep when really that's not the right cycle for you. And sometimes we have to, though, because of our families and that sort of thing. I don't know.
And then when you do have to wake up early, to get to an appointment or meeting or anything like that, then you're up and then trying to get up and function in that early morning instances. So
yeah,
the scheduling is very important, I think, if you can get that actually to be accomplished.
right.
Getting that to be done is difficult.
I'll post that podcast about that, the guy, and you may be interested in his book, because he had a book like that, and he talked about how he made it work for him. Because we live with larks. Those, I mean, I'm more of a lark than an owl, but so we may live with someone who is opposite of us, so we've got to figure out how to work that too. So all right, so what else did you learn about sleep that maybe struck you? Anything?
So does anybody else sleep? Yeah, I have a question. Does anybody else sleep with the room completely dark? Because my curtains don't cover my window, so the moon shines in, and I've been thinking about that, wondering if it interrupts me or not.
Oh yeah, I have it completely black, and in fact we used to have a nightlight for the kids, and that started to drive me crazy. And so we had to close I made it. I'm like, we have to close the door, because even that light sensitivity, I mean, it was a light to keep your mind moving and thinking. But yeah, they say that darkness and coolness, keeping the room cool and keeping it dark and not having that light sensitivity makes a difference.
Get blackout curtains.
Yeah. Hi, Sandy.
Hi. Blackout curtains help a lot.
When I move out of the basement, our bedroom outside our bedroom, there's a street light. So I'm going to have to get a good blind for that, because in the morning I want that blind up, but at night I'm going to need to have a really good blackout blind for the window that'll be in our bedroom, So what about white noise? Does anybody use white noise or anything like that?
Yeah.
Have you tried that, Sarah?
Nope, not yet.
That might help. I read a couple things, and I'm not sure if it was in here, but I've read it in different places, where even tuning the radio between stations and put it on low, that shh noise helps. There's actually an app for it, and some of it is, there's different things, like there's one of them is waves coming in from the ocean, and there's a bunch of different noises that you can utilize from it, and you can just put that on your phone and play that, and you can set it for a time period so it's not running all night if you don't like it, but you might try that.
Well, and I used to do music. That was one big thing, just even soft music, just to kind of block everything else coming out and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I do think, unfortunately, you get in bed and all of a sudden your mind is closing out the day, but it's also preparing for the next day.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be what keeps you going and keeps your mind moving. So yeah, I did the music for a little while, and even a fan.
Yeah, fan works too.
Which creates that sound and that movement, like you were talking about too. It's just something to kind of help relax.
Plus, it cools you off a little bit too, because it moves the air. I can't stand the air to be dead. It's got to be moving around.
And my husband is a furnace, so gets me hot, and so then I have to be cool. So sometimes that fan can kind of help with the noise reduction.
Yeah. I tend to listen to a podcast when I'm going to sleep, and then I set the timer so it turns off in 30 minutes. And almost always it works, but you got to find the right podcast. Just good enough to engage your mind, but not so great that you care if you miss any of it.
Because then it'll keep me up even later.
Yeah. But that might help you with your 3 a.m. Pull that one out. And you know what I'll do? I'll start with one when I go to sleep, and it'll turn off. I fall asleep well before it turns off, but then I'll wake up at a time sometimes, and I'll think, I'll turn it back on, and I'll wind it back and start in the place where I don't remember listening anymore. And then I fall right asleep. It just works like a charm. So that helps. And sometimes I've had people tell me putting a notepad by your bed and writing down some of the things that come to your mind, so that because your mind is worried you're going to forget sometimes. So if there's something important, you might want to write that down. And then your mind can say, okay, she's written it down. She won't forget.
But in the morning, you try to read that. I've done that. And
you got to write clearly.
Well, I can write clearly, but it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like you're dyslexic in the middle of the night. You can't make any sense of it the next morning. But you thought you did, so that's the important thing.
Yeah, actually, that is the important thing, that your mind thinks you wrote it down. Even if you didn't. Well, anything else you want to add about sleep? Because otherwise we better move into chapter 18 real quick. All right. Well, chapter 18 is really about building your support system. And, that's kind of what we're doing here. We've kind of built a support system. You guys have, I know, if you're going to the gym and you're exercising together, with Jamie there, you got a support system, but that's an important piece of it. And he they talk about different support systems in here, but I like that there's three methods to help you mastering the habits of health, and that's really what we've been working on, learning about, and that's studying, which is what we're doing it, actually doing it, and then modeling it, and how important it is to model the habits of health to help you actually integrate those habits into your life, because we talk about that all the time. When you teach somebody how to do something, you learn it so much better than if you just read it and maybe think about it, maybe do it some, but then if you've got to go in and teach it at church, in my church, we all take turns speaking about a topic. So that you get that you're going to get a topic, and you're going to learn more than anybody else about it, because you've studied it, you've you've applied some of the principles to your life, and then you were able to model that. So I really like that part. Any comments about this chapter?
I liked how they had health is not a spectator sport.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you, Sandy?
Well, it means I can read all I want. I can know all the stuff to do and have all the right cookbooks and do all this stuff. But if I don't actually do it, it's just a pipe dream. I have to actually use the books, study it, and I have to get out there, exercise. I have to watch my portions and eat the right foods, and I like that it's not a spectator sport.
Yeah. A lot of times we're getting ready to get ready, don't you think?
Yes.
And really, we've talked about different habits of health along our way. We've talked about increasing our water, how important that is. We talked, we just talked about sleep. We talked about eating 6 times a day. We talked about portion control. We've talked about eating low glycemic. And so what I challenge you all to do is to think about which of those habits you want to put in place, and what's your plan, because really you got to have a plan, and that sort of thing. So I challenge you to do that, and decide how you want to do it. If Jamie or I can help you with that, we'd love to do that also. So we can be supportive with that. There's lots of resources out there that we can share with you. Because on page 224, Dr. Andersen talks about you can never get enough help. And, that's true of those around us too. If we're, what did he talk about? They talked about here somewhere where if you hang out with people who are healthy, you tend to be more healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometime somebody's got to start that, So if you hang out with a bunch of people that are all struggling with their health, I mean, I don't know about you, but people can talk me into doing stuff that, I probably shouldn't do when I'm not, got my mind right. So one of us some of us have to start, how are we going to get the people that we love healthy with us? Because not only are they going to be doing better, but we're going to be doing so much better because we're modeling what we're learning. We're encouraging each other not to cheat and that sort of thing. So,
and I think that's one of the strong points, is that it does take a group effort, somebody that you can talk to about the struggle that you're going through, and giving those ideas. Mm-hmm. And at work, sometimes it's hard to find the ones that want to jump on the bandwagon as well. I mean, today we have people bring in cookies and snacks, and it's like, guys, knock it off.
Yeah, I'm trying here.
One cookie. You have one cookie, Sarah, you'll feel better. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to stop, and constantly having to remind. After a while, it's just like, fine, I'll have the damn cookie, so then you'll get off the back.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's having that, trying to get them on the bandwagon as well, to support the choices and the decision that you're trying to make.
And that's where it's great to have a health coach or a buddy, when you have those days when you get to that point and you can call your buddy and say, save me. I'm about ready to jump off. I'm about ready to munch 5 of these cookies or whatever it is, and just talk you off the ledge, because that really helps. But I always think about a crab pot. Have you ever heard about crab pots? Mm-mm. Well, what they do is when one crab gets in there, when a couple crab gets into a crab pot, when they're catching crabs, they don't have lids on them, because what the crabs will do, when one starts to try to climb out of the crab pot, the other ones will pull him back in. And that's kind of what happens when we are around people who are, when we're trying to make a change about really with anything. And people will try to pull you back into the crab pot. Mm-hmm. And that's really what's happening, because that's where we're comfortable, and you're stirring the pot, and maybe you're going to make someone else uncomfortable because of the choices they're making, so they're going to try to get you to come back into the crab pot. So if you can kind of think of it that way, that if you can just make it through, that person may decide to join you. But if you're weak, maybe they're not ready to be strong with you, because they need they need, maybe they just need more than, they need to know that you're serious.
Well, I think that's with my coworkers, as I've been trying to change things and do things differently. I think that's one of the things that I've tried to respect their choices. Mm-hmm. As far as one of my coworkers, she says, I just don't care. I'm going to be this way, and I don't have enough ambition to want to change. And it's like, okay, that's fine, but this is what my choice is. And so please stop offering me the Pepsi and the candy bars and all that stuff as I try to make those changes.
Yeah. But I feel bad when someone says that because they've given up hope. They really don't think they can do it.
Yeah.
So, that's where we need to, if we can do it, if we can power through, we can use our support system, if we can use each other to help ourselves make it through, somebody else is going to see that and say, well, maybe I can do it. Maybe I can do this. Maybe it is worthwhile, but as long as we're, if they don't have any hope that they can do it, and I think a lot of us get to that point. I mean, that's where I was before I started this journey. I really figured, oh, I'm in my 50s. I guess I'm supposed to be chubby.
Yeah.
Who wants to be that?
I completely understand that.
Yeah.
Basically took my health to wake me up and say, hey, because I'm working in a healthcare field, I know what people end up like. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, it finally took my own health scare to say, okay, Sarah, let's take this serious. And
let's do something about this.
If there's something to fix it.
Absolutely. That's awesome. But sometimes, it's nice. It would be nice not to have to get to the point where it's like you do it or you.
Yeah. And hopefully we instill that in our kids.
Yeah.
I see healthy changes in Catherine, which is a huge thing for me. Xavier, I think, is going to go after my husband and he's going to have a healthy thought. But for Catherine, it's going to be more of a struggle. So hopefully watching some of these healthy changes, we can hold her a little bit more.
Yeah. If you can make their life easier, why not? By doing it with our kids. All right, ladies, we're out of time, but it was wonderful being with you today. Weren't those good chapters?
Yes.
All right, Jamie, what are we reading next week?
Well, chapter 19 is long.
I was going to say.
It's a good chapter. So do you just want to do that chapter?
Yeah, let's focus on that because it's about it. There's a lot in there, and it's about inflammation and all those kind of things. Inflammation is such a key thing. So let's spend some time on that and look through that, and we'll study chapter 19 next week. Okay. All right, ladies, you can always contact me if you need some help. I'd love to help you. I might put in a well-being evaluation in the group. If you would take a minute and do that, I think you would enjoy it. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about that well-being evaluation too. I'll stick it in the group.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You guys have a great week. I will see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.